How's your university and studying in Scotland?
You can, well, I guess we've got like two different perspectives here, because I've actually graduated from Edinburgh, and then now I'm studying in Belgium. So you got two different perspectives here. But so I mean, yeah, we both have like, well, for our bachelor degree, which is what I got in Edinburgh, we've done everything in English. And yeah, like all the courses, like everyone is required to have like a certain level of English. Just to kind of, even live in the city, you need to be able to speak English. Yeah. And then, yeah, I was actually on a tier 4 visa. That's what they're called in the UK. So I had to have like the university as like a sponsor, quote unquote, to get visa, to be able to come into the country and stay for, the duration of my studies. Yeah. As an international student, I don't think we have a full scholarship, but I think there are some like supports available, like financial support available, even for international students. And I think Thomas can talk a bit more about it as like a British national. And then how much does it cost? Well, I guess it depends on the person, kind of like,
And the degree.
Yeah, on the degree as well. Yeah. Tuition, I think in general, like you're looking at, well, as an international student, you're looking at like £26,000 per year. I think that's probably like somewhat similar in euros as well. And then tax, we don't have to pay tax, so that's good as a student. And then I'd say like a couple £100 more for rent, and then a couple hundred more for like living costs and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Per month, yeah.
Yeah, per month. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's the general vibe of kind of living in Edinburgh, I guess. And then in terms of like the actual like studies, that one also, like the question on your teachers, examiners or mentor, I think that also depends on which kind of teachers you have. I can talk about the mechanical like lecturers, and then you can talk about the electrical lecturers. But yeah, most of my lecturers were very like friendly. Like we kind of call them by their first name. So, we don't go like professor, last name, we go like first name basis. So like a lot of them were like really good mentors, especially like thesis supervisors and everything. So yeah, more like a mentor for me, at least. So I was very lucky there. Structural mechanics stuff, dynamics, thermodynamics, fluid mechanics. So like the basis of engineering. Yeah, I think I was quite lucky because I had most of my labs before COVID time. So I actually had a chance to do some like engine, like disassembly and reassembly, and like a go-kart as well. And then some welding, like different like manufacturing like labs. So that was really cool. You get to see the practical applications of it. You can study abroad. I think most of them go on like a year abroad on like third year, most. And you've got, I think, like lots of universities to go choose from, like basically around the world. So it's pretty good there. I think I was quite okay. I mean, some people have like obviously like the English like language barrier sometimes. Sometimes like they have to work to like support themselves financially, but I was lucky and I didn't have any of that. But yeah, I think the university has like a pretty good system, especially like after COVID times, to give like extensions and like be more flexible in that regard. So I guess that's like the general like studying in Edinburgh. And then what percentage of your time is dedicated to studying versus making a rocket? Okay.
Disproportionate.
Yeah. It really depends on the person. Like some people just, do like a couple of hours per week. Some people, they basically devote their entire life and sell their soul to, endeavour.
As they should.
Yeah. So yeah, it depends on the people. But I think generally what we expect from like people, our members, when we recruit them is like a couple of hours, like 4 or 5 hours per week. Really depends. Yeah, job opportunity after the university, I'd say pretty good. say pretty good. Yeah.
I think we have like a 95% hiring rate or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's like a really, good university in terms of like, global ranking, and it's like a well-known university, so it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, and then it's also pretty like good to go to like further studies, or like masters or PhD. So I'd say it's pretty good in terms of that as well. Networking, yeah, but I think this is also kind of what you make for yourself, because like they could give you all the networking events that you could wish for, like but if you don't go to them, then you don't really build your network. So that one is really different for everyone. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, definitely.
I'd study electrical and mechanical engineering, but I kind of have a focus on electrical and that side of things. So very similar experience to what Anne has described. Everyone in the university is really friendly and familiar and casual with each other, and pretty much the same things apply to that. In terms of kind of what I've studied in my degree, it's kind of split, I'd say, between like low-level electronics and high power, like electrical engineering as well. So working with power systems, grids, and things like that. But the more interesting stuff is what happens on the low level, the kind of things that go on in your phones or in your rockets. So very, very much interested in that side of things. But I think in terms of the last 2 points there, Scotland kind of has a developing space sector, let's say. It's relatively new. It's very much trying to break away from the kind of UK space sector that kind of links in with the whole kind of Scottish independence and identity kind of mentality. But it's up and coming, and it's quite good. The thing about it being so small is that it's very personal, and it's everyone knows each other. In fact, just before this, I was on a call with two people who are quite prominent in the space sector here. So the university, I would say, has quite good connections. We have someone working at the university in kind of our space division, you could say, that knows essentially everyone. So if you ever need a connection or you need to acquire something, you know exactly who to talk to, which is fantastic. It might not necessarily be accessible or feasible, but at least you can ask, which is quite good. And I think the university does try its best to promote that. There's lots of funding and stuff available, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about later. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty solid.
I'm afraid I had a relatively boring university life. I was a good student, didn't party too hard. So yeah, I don't know if I have any fun facts. Or, there's like our like Meadows Pug lady and like, all those interesting characters around the city. But I don't know them off like the top of my head.
Edinburgh is a lovely place to live, and it's very quirky. There's lots going on. But I think given the last 3 years, things have been a little bit quiet. But, also when you are studious, you build rockets, you don't really have much time to have fun, except for the fun that you have building rockets, of course, full disclosure.
Do you have contacts with other university alumni?
I wouldn't necessarily say that we have direct contact with them. We can if we need to. The university does have schemes in place for that kind of thing. But specifically for us, not really.
Yeah, so I know someone that currently now works at SpaceX. He is American, so that kind of opens a bit more doors in the US for him. But yeah, so I think no, his name is Annie. Well, I do know his name. And I think he did like a little interview. I don't know if the clip is available, but yeah, seems like he's having a good time.
He works with Starlink, I believe. He's working on kind of keeping the satellites robust and working on the materials that go up and kind of the electronics and stuff on that. He was an E&M electrical mechanical student as well. Yeah. So I think that's probably kind of our only link.
Oh no, ish. Yeah, I just remembered someone else as well. Actually, now works at NASA. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There was like a funding scheme from the university last year, and we had a chance to like talk to him about his like work at NASA, and he's done like a little seminar for us as well, for the university as well. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, it was a very it was, like, yeah, as you work in rocketry, you see someone in NASA, you're like, oh,
It's the
my
goal.
dream. Yeah. But yeah, that was really cool to see. Yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of like other companies, well, ESA, the closest we probably have is our contact with Portuguese Space Agency through EUROC. I know that it's kind of done in conjunction with the European Space Agency, but I don't think we have any direct connections with that.
Yeah.
But other companies, we'll talk a little bit about that later in terms of like the funding and stuff. But we are kind of jointly partnered with a Edinburgh company called Skyrora, who build launches and things like that. And we've met multiple people at conferences and things like that who work in the space sector around Scotland. So we've got Thistle Rocketry as well. We've come into contact with them a lot, but I would say we haven't yet gotten to the point, we haven't really achieved the kind of critical mass where we can approach them all, start small, start local, and then we work our way out from that.
How do you prepare for university?
I did like a high school curriculum-ish thing, yeah, called the International Baccalaureate, or IB as we shorten it. And that's like an internationally kind of recognized system. So even though I went to like a high school in Korea, I was still able to have like a high school diploma that was recognized by like universities all around the world. So yeah, that was kind of basically it. And yeah, and that in my high school, I think I took like English, Korean, which, those are the two languages that you do have to take. Like a humanities subject, I took business, and then I took physics and then chemistry, which is kind of like the standard thing that you take if you want to go into engineering. Don't know why they require chemistry, but fair enough.
All the bases.
Yeah. If your high school offers, like manufacturing technology or like design technology, that would be so much more useful. But yeah. So looking at like the application acceptance criteria, I guess, for your university, and then kind of choose the subjects according to that I was part of like this robotics club in my final year, which was an interesting move, but it was pretty fun. I was part of the mechanical team, so I didn't get to see like the electronics or like the software side of it, but that was really cool to see like all the hardware coming together. Korea and space sector is we're getting there.
Kind of similar from my perspective. I mean, I studied in South Africa and the system is a little different there. So it's not necessarily internationally accredited, but thankfully there are some universities in the UK where that is, and Edinburgh just so happened to be one of them. Otherwise, I probably would have had to do a foundation year where it brings you up to either an IB or an A-level standard. But thankfully I didn't have to do that. I did do something similar. I did a year of university out there, just to cover my bases, but it's not strictly necessary. But when I was at that university, I was part of like a programming society and things like that. So I have, and some like did some electronics courses. So I kind of established that baseline a little bit before coming here. But apart from that, in high school, I took physics, maths, computer science, and something called EGD, which is like engineering, graphics, and design. So it's a like technical drawing subject, and that was really useful, especially for the mechanical side of my degree. It's a bit archaic and a bit outdated, but the same principles still apply. Yeah, apart from that, not really much extracurricularly. Definitely nothing space related. Unfortunately, South Africa is far behind in the space race. One of my friends from the university out there is actually working for the South African Space Agency now as a computer scientist, but haven't had much contact with him in a while. But in terms of like advice for, treating high school in Europe, I'm not sure where you plan to go, if it's going to be an IB school or maybe it'll be like a UWC or something like that. Those are the only two experiences from my friends that I know. But, just as long as you're following your passions, and I think that'll set you straight, and if you do well, it always helps.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way. I think that's the saying.
What about the everyday student life in Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, yeah, it's a tricky one to pronounce. Yeah, Edinburgh.
It's quite good. Edinburgh is a wonderful city for students, particularly. I mean, I would say maybe 15-20% of the population of Edinburgh as students, just because we have 4 or 5 universities operating in the city's like jurisdiction. So definitely a place where you feel at home, I would say. And it's absolutely beautiful. The weather's not great, unfortunately. It's Scotland, it rains. It is what it is.
Edinburgh is something quite similar as well, called like Cowgate, and that general area. So that's the place to be when you want to have some fun, I guess.
Yeah, very easy life. It's all in one place for you.